Oh, we're there. We're here. We're here. All right, we're here. We are here, Raga. We are
We
here.
are. We
We
are.
are here. We've been wanting to meet each other for such a long time in Goa and in India. And somehow, our flights have all crossed each other. We've lived in the same city in Mumbai, but never met, correct? And now we're meeting across two different time zones and two different sides of the globe. You're in the UK, I'm in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Welcome.
Thank you. I mean, what an amazing, amazing journey it has been since we first connected, isn't it? So much
Yes,
has
yes.
happened.
So much.
Lockdown has happened. Lockdown.
Correct. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think the lockdown caught you in surprise. It caught me completely in surprise too, and completely off guard because I didn't come prepared for for a lockdown in Kuala Lumpur. I'd come to see the country, and get going with it, right? And then so many things have changed. 2020 was such an inspiring year. I'm sure for you as well, where your life changed because I know we've connected on and off. My life completely changed. And I think with that, so much of healing has happened to the two of us. A lot of writing also, I'm sure, has happened, correct? For
Correct.
you as well, yes. And here we are in 2021, all set, and to fire on all guns, so to say, and see what we can do, with the gifts that we have, the gift of the voice.
Brilliant. 2020, I must say, has been the best year of my life. The best year because I think it challenged me the most. For someone like me, they'd say that I have ants in my pants. I can't sit still. And
Mm.
suddenly I was forced to sit still. I was forced to almost semi-retire from that
Oh,
20 hours a week, a day kind of
yes,
work. And
yes,
it was so amazing, so healing, like you said. I found myself and I really fell in love with myself. It was
yeah,
for the first time I thought, wow, you're cool. Because all
yeah,
these years I would tell myself, oh, I don't like you because you're too busy, you're too tired, you're too exhausted, you're not a good mom, you're not a good colleague. It's
yes.
constantly throwing horrible things to myself and saying horrible things about myself. And I felt that I was actually a school person. And
Mm, mm.
in loving myself, I feel that I found so much more to give, Ethel. You
Right,
know,
right. Yeah. I completely understand that because I think I went to that similar phase. And luckily for me, I had this, like a holistic coach who I kind of reached out to for help because I do not know how to do the self love at all. Nobody has taught us, as children, as young teenagers, as adults, what self love is all about because they thought self love is about being selfish in a very negative, derogatory manner, right? So we've only learned to do things in the outside and never learned to give ourselves love. So 2020 became my entire self love, self care year, and I felt so much in love with myself, Raga. Yeah,
I
completely.
love
Yes.
it. I love it.
Completely.
I got fed up of feeling guilty. All my life, I felt guilty about, you know, giving less time to my children, not
Right.
being a good, partner because, you need time,
Yes.
or doing things for myself sometimes. Everything is about guilt, right, for women. And
Hmm.
just when you just stop and accept that, it's okay to do things for yourself. It's okay to groom yourself the way you want. It's
Right.
okay to give yourself that special treat that you want to give. It's
Correct.
not self-indulgence, it is self-love. And I think from that, what comes across and what comes out is so much of magic. I
Yes. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
love it. And, people feel that magic. And
Correct.
why do they feel that magic? Because they also want to have that magic.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
We all want magic.
Like
Yeah.
today, I was doing lunch. I was doing lunch today, and the guest who was with me said, "You're like an energy lightning bolt who just gets in. Everyone just turns around and says, 'Who walked in?' Right?" I said, "Because that is what life is all about." I said, "This age is just a concept. It's just a number somewhere." I said, The entire thing is to live a purposeful life every single day, right?" And then I think, and I'm sure you agree with it too. All our gifts that we have, Raga, just get highlighted, just get just bloom, right? Because I
Exactly.
also noticed, yeah, I also noticed that my whole writing style also changed. It became very passionate, very intimate, very positive, very authentic. Because as a writer, you have two fantastic books out. We've been writing, but at some point of time, I think when you start going through your entire self-healing phase and you kind of bloom into this new person who's completely, in sync with herself, even the voice changes. Don't you agree?
Oh, I totally agree. I think I did some of my best writing in 2020 and now.
Hmm.
During lockdown, I just want to share this. During lockdown, Onir, the filmmaker, we'd met somewhere. He's made films like I Am, my brother Nikhil. I'm not sure if you know of him. I bumped into him at some lit festival when my first book, Untold Lies, was launched. And we had this conversation and just a regular conversation. And he said to me that, will you write, for me? And will you write your story for me?
Hmm.
And my story is a story which is quite, I would say, not different to many others in India. I mean, I grew up in a very humble family. I learned to read from the Chanawala's papers.
Hmm.
I learned under street light. I
Oh,
came from nothing. I came from
okay.
absolutely nothing to today. I created a life which is, I travel around the world, and there's so much to give.
Hmm.
So, so he said, "Can you write about it?" And during lockdown, I tried to, say, "Okay, let me write about something." And I thought to myself, who will be interested in this kind of a story? So the
Yes.
first two drafts I wrote, he rejected. He said, "What nonsense! This is too victimy. You're
Yeah.
writing like," and he told me, "You're writing like a typical woman who is always sad, feels
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm so burdened." He said, "Change that. Put
Yes.
put another mask on and say,
Yeah.
be that person that you are." And I wrote this
Yeah.
story immediately. Ethel, he accepted, and it's getting
Hmm.
adapted into a film. And I made this a story of a girl into her adulthood, and it's fun and it's lighthearted. So,
Wow.
my point is that when you're in a different place in life, you write different things because you think differently.
Yes.
2020 was that place when everything changed for me. And
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see that transformation in you. And I
Yeah.
can really,
Yeah. Because my mom, she looks at me, she said, "What happened to you? What have you been doing in Kuala Lumpur?" Yeah. I said, I just told her, I stopped. He said, I said, my soul stopped being a victim. I'm a
yeah,
victor, and
love it.
that's true about you too, Raga, because I think that's why, I see the, the similar kind of magic that you resonate and reflect with, correct? Uh, and people who resonate that magic are now finding each other as well, because I think it's that same vibe tribe that kind of gets out there and say, okay, who are all the magic doers, right? Who are all the unicorns? Let's get the unicorns together, right? And you're one of them. Yeah,
No,
you're one of
exactly. We are, and I don't like to be a victim. I will say, be the heroine of your story, man. Don't
yeah,
be a victim. Let that
yes,
be someone else. That's
yeah.
not you. And
That's
yeah,
that.
it's amazing. It's like I tell myself, it's like there's a radio here, there's a tuning
Mm,
button here, and it's
mm,
just about tuning the frequency. When you feel down, thoda sa listen to happy music. When you
yeah,
feel, happy, thoda sa have perspective and listen to a little bit of a sad music because it balances you, it centers
yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's so
yeah.
important. I believe in that, Ethel.
Correct. Yeah. So I've done a little kind of tuning myself. Made a happy playlist for me in the morning when I wake up. I listen to that song, and that song becomes my loop song for the day. I think that's how you kind of find your own tools to get going and just figure out one day at a time. So, but in the meantime, Raga, congratulations on being awarded, selected from the 100 winners of India, right? Or women winners of India in
Yeah, in
in
the
media, advertising,
advertising.
marketing.
Yeah.
That's a huge honor. That's a huge honor.
Thank you. I feel grateful. The first thing, I mean, I said to you earlier that I didn't believe it. I thought it was some hoax, some
Hmm.
illegitimate stuff that, these days awards are being just presented like it's like chanas.
Correct. Correct.
But I was pleasantly surprised that I was listed amongst the top, people in India, and my congratulations to all. But I almost also thought, 20
Hmm.
years too late. I've been around for a long time. I'm 50. Ye kya hua? How did the media forget me for like so many years? You know? But then, having said that, I haven't lived in India for 20 years. I left India
Hmm.
and I left for New Zealand in 2001. And
You
when I
mentioned.
left, I was the absolute top of my game. And so, if I wanted acknowledgement and appreciation, I should have stayed back. But I, you know, but I'm
Yeah,
happy.
but Let's tap ourselves on the shoulder. Please tap
Thank
yourself. Yeah,
thank
it's never too late. It's
you
never
know,
too
and
late.
I found myself at 50, and I'm very happy and proud to say that. It took me 50 years to
Hmm,
accept myself for who I was as a human, as a person. And I
correct.
think it's never too late, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
Being authentic, you talk about being authentic. How do you become authentic? You don't become authentic just like that. You have
Yes.
to face challenges. You have to go through the, like I say, the washing machine and the dryer. You have to
Hmm.
tumble in, and then you become authentic. I have
Correct.
I'll just give a short, small analogy that I give to people when I talk to them during my keynotes. Like
Yes.
imagine you have a red shoe, and it's a beautiful pair of red shoes. It's beautiful leather in every way. It's beautiful. You wear it,
Hmm.
and you feel very happy that you've got this beautiful, perfect pair of shoes. But they're
Correct.
actually not perfect. They
Yeah.
don't fit you. They
Hmm.
hurt you. They
Hmm.
make you cringe in pain, and you live in it day in and day out, and you don't have any other way to take them off because the world thinks they're beautiful on you. So you
Right.
pretend, you accept, you live that life. You see somebody else wearing similar shoes, and they're also laughing. So
Correct.
they're smiling. So you think, oh, if I say that these shoes don't fit me, I will
Correct.
be outcast. I will not be
Yes.
accepted. So you
Right.
wear these things, and imagine life is like that. Imagine if we wear our life, or we live a life where the shoes don't fit us.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine
Mm-hmm.
that every night you're crying yourself to sleep. For the world, you're living a beautiful life. But for
Right.
you, it is causing you a lot of pain and anguish. I
Right.
discarded those shoes at 50, Ethel. It took me 50 years to discard those shoes. And for
Wow.
me, I have young people coming to me and saying, Mom, ma'am, thank you for sharing this with us. We don't
Hmm.
want to have those ill-fitting shoes because we don't want to have to make choices that are not right for us.
Right.
Authentic self comes from making those choices and making those decisions, as you know.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. They could be hard, but they've got to be made.
Yeah,
Yeah. Correct.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But tell
Yeah.
me, I'm very curious about you. I mean, the first time we interacted, you told me about your poetry, and I was so looking forward to meeting you at the Goa Fest. I
Hmm.
want to know, where did those words come from, and how do you look at words? Because I write, so I want to
Yes.
know, how do they come into your being?
Right. So I've kind of understood now. As I said, we all come into our own at a certain time when it's all right. The soil is all prepared and just wants a seed to be planted in. And so I think you are in that same kind of same zone, and so am I. This book has been This book, when I launched it in 2008, had been writing itself for a very long time, Raga. And I was writing it, I mean, everywhere, everywhere. I was writing it in the bus in India. I was writing it in an auto rickshaw. I was writing it in anguish. I was writing it in the bathroom when I was sitting down and breaking down and crying and doing all that, correct? So it was in its making, and I remember writing it by pencil, by pen, on a typewriter before the laptops and then computers happened. And when that voice got put together, a very close friend of mine who's also an author in Goa, I trusted him. I gave him that manuscript to read, and he read it, and he started crying, and he said, yeah, he said, I did not know that this is what you were going through, and this was because it's always a happy face. We're so good at putting out happy faces to the world, Raga, correct? Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, and before you know it, that mask kind of sinks into your skull, because it becomes part of your life and your personality. So I said, we don't know. We never knew that this is what you've been going through. I said, you have to get this voice out. I was so scared. I was so scared of the kind of backlash that could happen, society's backlash that could happen to it, because who am I to be talking all these things, right, about abuse and violence and stuff? He said, no, you will be doing great service by putting this voice out, because unless women who are educated like you don't voice out, don't speak out, how will you encourage somebody else to also stand for themselves, correct? Because we are women of media. So there is a certain responsibility, Radha. You agree with that too, right?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's how the book happened. And so I look at words as a vocation. I think writing is a vocation for me, and I understood it as a gift. And I said, it's like a passion button. You have a passion button too. I know that. You just press that button on because all the conditions are ripe and right for us, and the words just happen. and for me, they all just happen in a flow of spontaneity. It just flows, flows, flows to the point of exhaustion that I write, and then I need to collapse because
Yeah.
it has said all it has to say, correct? And then you wait for the next download to happen. So that's how I wrote that book in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, like a possessed woman. It was just writing itself, all voices. And I think it was, I look at Eve channeling herself. She was very angry Eve, because I think, when you tap into the source just opens up a lot of gateways to you, to communicate.
Yeah.
And I
True.
think I believe that's how you wrote your own book, Untold Lies, in the same format. It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's passionate, correct? Passionate.
I so agree with you, and I so resonate with what you're saying, because to me, it's like words are like I feel I'm channeled sometimes, and I
Mm,
don't know whether it makes sense to people. And people tell me, how much time does it take for you to write, let's say, a poetry?
right.
And it really takes me. I type as fast as well as speed type, so it takes me literally less than 5 minutes, because I
Mm,
don't have to think. I don't even. It just I whatever in that moment happens, it just pours out of my fingers and it goes onto paper, and
yeah.
I never read my poetry again. That's it, khatam. That's it. And
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
very, because a lot of people don't like that either. I've met authors who
Mm,
think, no, you have to plan, you have to do hundreds of days of plotting and planning, and I believe that is true as well for people,
yeah.
and
Method.
I respect that. That's their method. But for me, it doesn't happen like that. There are days I cannot write,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then there are days like I get obsessive. I have to be, no matter where I am, I take
Mm,
voice notes,
mm,
whatever it comes. I mean, you can't help it. It is
yes.
something that is, and I think, like you said, it's a gift. And I love what you said about the media, that how it is we're responsible. Like, we have a sense of responsibility as women in media. And
Yes.
when I say women in media, the narrative that we share through, whether it is through these dialogues like that, through
Correct.
our stories in the form of words in the form of books, through
Correct.
our columns that we write, through
Correct.
shows that we do,
Correct.
whatever, that is all media. Conversations that we have with friends or family or people around. So to me, that is a responsibility that is actually given to us. And the
Correct.
moment we accept that responsibility, we have to basically fold our hands in gratitude and say, okay, now I'm going to use this responsibility wisely. And to
Yes.
me, I feel that whenever I share whatever part of my journey, my story, whether as a little girl who went through, like you said, abuse, domestic violence, and a gateway into seeing other people's lives which were not pleasant, which were dysfunctional,
Right.
sharing that, I think it is my responsibility to share the truth, because
Mm-hmm.
in that there are many other people who relate to it and
Right.
who can learn from it and say, you know what, I don't want to go through that. I can
Yes.
put a stop to this.
Yes.
Whatever, and I believe that our stories change the narrative. And I say my famous line, one story at a time. Take
Yes.
only one story. You don't need thousands of stories. Ethel, there's one other thing that on Women's Day, everybody's been asking, I'm sure for you as well, what is that one message you want to give? What would you advise? One, I don't advise anybody. That's not
Right.
my place. But the message is that if each one of us stood for one thing, each
Correct.
woman, just
Yes.
one thing. Now they may interrelate, interconnect. Nicola may stand for something which is powerful as environment. I may
Correct.
stand for something which is powerful as go write your stories, share your stories, be a storyteller. You may
Right.
have another purpose in life, but if we stand for something, each one of us stand for something, and we take that on, and we
Yes.
take ownership of that, and we make sure that everybody around us, that our social fabric that we are in, learn
Correct.
from it, get inspired, and they give back.
Yes. Correct.
I
Yeah.
think that is a beginning of that change that will happen for us
I
women.
I completely agree. So yesterday, when I was doing a little bit of reading up, I read somewhere one of these a pioneer in wellness. I'm sure we all know Vish Lakiani, who's also Malaysian, from Mind Valley. He said today it's no longer careers, it is missions, and we are all we are all kind of driving ourselves and our teams to take ownership of missions in life, right? And that becomes your voice into kind of whatever that you choose to do. So yesterday, when you're in the UK, so UK is right now a buzz, correct? I mean, there's a huge story that's exploded,
Yeah.
in the media scape, right? So from the US to the UK, Meghan Markle has spoken up and kind of taken on, a huge big institution by speaking her truth, right? And it's caused so much of, blood pressures that have gone up everywhere, some debates and whatever. You're in the UK, Ragam. How does the media work there when it comes to women issues in terms of, mental health, bullying, harassment, and basically kind of, making a life for themselves?
Ethel, I think media is media. We're part of that media, right? I think
Right.
like what you call it in what you saw from Megan's interview and Oprah Winfrey's interview, she made references to a lot of tabloids,
Mm.
and which spoke about avocados and stuff like that.
Yes.
So there are
Yes.
those I think that part of the media that basically, as it takes advantage, and they will do anything, say anything to just get, like we have people in India, raising their voices on television to boost TRPs, right?
Right.
So that
Right.
also happens in print, but somewhere in between, that is the real truth.
Mm.
And I don't
Mm.
think we really know the real truth. That's the
Correct.
point. But
Correct.
so there are. I mean, somebody came up and said there is no racism in the UK, for instance, and
Yes.
I don't agree. I face it every day, and
Mm.
it's not blatant. It's
Correct.
not blatant at all, but there is passive racism, and that is happening. I mean, my son, for instance, during lockdown, he works in a supermarket. So in
Right.
lockdown, you're not allowed to go out, right? I mean, unless you're a essential worker, and we still
Right.
under lockdown. So he was wearing his work uniform. He was on the
Mhm.
train, on the tube in London, and that was the first day of lockdown. The cops were getting onto the tubes and checking, and they were stopping cars, taxis, everything, and checking
Mm.
whether it was legit for you to get out of the house. And
Okay.
he was stopped. So there were six other people. That was him, six other people. And I'm going to use the word not Indian, not
Right.
brown skin,
Right.
white. And but the cops came and checked only on him. They made him stand. They made him go through this whole identification process. And
Correct.
he felt very hurt and humiliated. And
Mm.
he knew, even at 23, that was because he was the only brown person in the tube, and he was sidelined. So these things happen. Now, whether
Correct.
the media allows and agrees and accepts it, or whether it denies it and therefore
Correct.
reports that everything is hunky dory, that's a different story. So
Yes.
there is that all the time, and that so the media reporting is as anywhere else, as partial, as discriminatory, as open, as one-sided, or as both-sided as anywhere else.
Correct. Because I think then a simultaneous story broke out that one of the breakfast shows who was like so volatile was asked to resign, and I thought that was like a big hooray, because I watched the interview and I could feel bile rising up because the way he was, kind of goading on and on and on, and I thought, where is his responsibility as to be unbiased as a journalist, right, of such a popular talk show? And then I kind of realized, what do we, what, because and I know that media, one can also misuse it.
Yeah.
So was he doing justice to that role that he was a part of, to be unbiased and therefore to inform his audience rather than goading his audience with some, with his own personal biases, right?
Yeah.
Um, do you also kind of see that, a change in narrative happening with movies, for example, where women heroines are suddenly being celebrated now, right?
Yeah, sure. Coming back to that breakfast show, I mean,
Mm.
that person who hosts the show,
Right.
I personally always, I mean, it's my personal opinion, found him arrogant. And it's always
Mm.
like, and whatever happened was always, and we read up like what happened, why was the reaction so strong? And
Right.
the reaction was so strong because there is a history. And so that's exactly what you said, that there's a personal bias. And that
Correct.
personal bias is then put out on screen, and
Right.
not understanding there are millions of people who are watching, and the
Yes.
audience is listening to you, and they are going to be equally biased, right?
Right.
So that
Yes.
is responsible, and I'm glad that the outcome was what it was.
Yes.
In terms of what else? Sorry, what was the other question you asked?
Yeah,
I
I
can.
was saying, do you kind of also see that a different narrative emerging
The
on
film.
women, by women, for women in
On
films?
screen in films. See,
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm a huge Bollywood person. I
Okay.
have I love Bollywood. I love Nirupa Roy saying, "Hare, mere bacche ki, what mere bacche ko kya hoga?" her children always got lost.
Yes,
You know,
yes, yes.
such an irresponsible mother. How did a children get no, sorry.
Right.
then you
Yes, yes,
had then you had these Parveen Babis of the world who were shown as, these little wearing this very beautiful clothes and always having a glass of wine. Then you had Vidya Sinas who always wore sari. So we were
correct.
conditioned to believe that women should be like that. Sari pehno, no drinking. So you're because that word used to be used, Sati Savitri. Do you remember?
Yes,
हाँ,
yes.
तो हर picture में सती ललिता पवार used to say ये सती सावित्री है,
Mm.
So we got conditioned to believe, we believed that as a woman, if I wear clothes which were skimpy, which were ill, which were not non-conformist, if I had a
Yes,
glass of wine, if I drank in public, I spoke to men and I did this, everything was wrong. So if we
correct.
got labeled, we got abused, ridiculed, everything. I think now look at the narrative. Now it is changing. Women are the kind of roles that Vidya Balan does, for instance. My
Mm.
favorite, I love her.
Yeah,
Dia Mirza's role in Thappad. You know, you look at that and think, yeah, these are the kind of powerful role models our next generation need. And
correct.
filmmakers, because there are more women filmmakers, are taking the
Yes,
stance and saying, I will project and portray myself the way I know and the way
correct.
I believe. I love it. I think we are
Yes.
seeing the winds of change.
Yes, and I think the also the counterpart Hollywood is also reflecting that change, right?
Yeah.
Because if you watch the very popular television show, I think it was Netflix or some other different digital format. It was called The Breakfast Show, with Jennifer and Reese Witherspoon, where Jennifer is the host of the morning breakfast show, and the
Okay.
entire dynamics, right? How women also play into male roles because you want to play with the boys, right? And hold on to those jobs and those positions and the paycheck and all that kind of thing. And then this fresh face walks in, and the whole narrative again happens there, about the entire Me Too movement. So that's basically the background to it. And then how at the end of the series, in the last final episode, that Jennifer goes, on air to call out, the abuser, and I thought that was wow. So just the first season has happened. So I
Okay.
see television. Yeah, I see televisions, or television also reflecting a couple of the narratives changing, correct, becoming very dynamic towards women in media especially,
Yeah,
because that is a very powerful voice to have. That is a very powerful place to be, and we all know that media is power. So when you own media and you are media, you are powerful, correct? So
absolutely.
yeah, and therefore there's accountability. There is responsibility to that role. So coming back to that entire, pillar, so to say, that makes your life, makes my life as well. Do you also see that voice reflected in literature?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at literature now, it's changed. I mean, one, of course, earlier there were only X number of publications, right? Now people have
Yes.
self-publishing as well.
Right.
So we have got, when I say we, I mean, as an audience or as readers, we've got a voice now. If I
Hmm.
wanted to say something and if I was not going to get a publisher, I can go and self-publish, you know?
Correct.
So
Correct.
literature is also, because I think we have the luxury of more options now than we had. But
Right.
even with your well-known publishers, they're writing some fantastic material. Some
Yes.
very interesting stuff is coming out, and across communities. And I don't want to get into the details of it, but the
Correct.
whole diversity and inclusion space it's you are seeing more stories of
Correct.
people who have struggled, women struggles,
Yes.
adversities, women business women, entrepreneurs. We're
Correct.
talking about women who have done really well in life. I just want to give you one kind of a side example to how things can go in parallel, but we're still behind. And I'll give you an
Yes.
example. I know a couple of my friends, sadly, who are really, really uh, in very senior positions at work,
Hmm.
professionally, very well sorted senior positions. But I also know that personally they struggle. They have
Hmm.
dysfunction. I won't use the word as strong a word as violence, but there is
Right.
you could borderline say there is abuse, there's
Hmm.
dysfunction. So abuse is abuse as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Yes.
They live in that relationship from fear. Now I'm
Hmm.
talking about strong women. We heard Megan the other day. So we
Yes.
talk about if strong women like us go through it and are ashamed, because the first thing that an abuser makes you feel is
Correct.
shame, that it is
Yes.
yours, that the shame is yours. They do gaslighting, right? And
Correct.
we
Yes.
start living that narrative, and we start believing that it is us. We are
Hmm.
at fault, and we take that abuse. I'm talking about strong women, women
Yes.
who have a reputation, who have the influence to make the change. I
Correct.
would love to see that change, and that narrative change will come from these conversations. Hopefully, it took me 50 years to live my truth, and I hope that the younger people don't have to wait for that long for whatever that truth is.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
And
Do you also kind of see that, Raga, because you have kids too, you have children too, you also have a son, right? Do you also kind of see the the entire universe, as we call it, which is talking about empowering each other now, including men, right? Because we're all saying men also need to do the work as well, correct? In terms of healing and finding counsel and all that, because that's what we are looking at. Do you think that the younger generation of men who are watching all these dynamics play out, are they also kind of developing, a heightened sense of responsibility
okay,
to be,
I have a
better, to be better
sure,
individuals, right?
sure. Ethel, I'm in a very unique place. I'll tell you why. Because I have
Mm.
twins. I've raised a son and a daughter.
Okay.
So I have an example of how the world is changing right in front of my eyes. My lens is like these kids are my lens to the world, in fact, to the new generation. We
Yes.
brought up the children absolutely equally. The only
Correct.
difference is, if I may say so, one wore a different kind of underwear and clothes. That's the only difference. Otherwise, we brought them up
Right.
absolutely alike. If there were chores in the house to do, they did
Mm-hmm.
them equally.
Mm.
Everything was so. I think men today are going through a transition.
Mm-hmm.
Current men of our age, they're watching
Yes.
what's happening. The younger generation, like my children's generation, who are now 23, they
Correct.
are part of that narrative, the changing
Yes.
narrative. They don't
Yes.
know any different. In fact, my sons sometimes struggle. See, there's a difference between chivalry and what is
Mm-hmm.
right and wrong. So, for
Yes.
instance, I would still want my son to open the door for a lady,
Correct.
support
Yeah.
the woman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like she's any inferior or she needs help. So, but he also says, but why should I have to do that? Because
Mm.
we are equal. She's welcome to hold the chair out for me as well. And
Correct.
I think sometimes I think, oh, what stand should I take? But I
Mm-hmm.
think that in an equal world, we must, as women, also learn to accept that young men
Yes.
will also question it. They're
Yes.
not running away from their responsibility. They're
Correct.
saying, if you want equality, then I give you equality. But you
Correct.
also have to accept my way of equality, which I think is
Right.
very interesting. It's a debate that one should have,
Correct.
conversation one should have. But I think the new generation, thanks to when I see people like my son, my Ash, I think
Mm-hmm.
there's huge hope, Ethel. What
Okay.
beautiful, uh, the younger generation is so beautiful, so open, so
Yes.
accepting, non-judgmental mostly.
Yes. Yes. Correct. Wow. So what are you writing these days?
Okay, lots. I write and I write and I write. Um, uh, I'm writing lots of stories. My story
Mm.
for me, I don't know whether you read much about me. I'm about love. I absolutely believe in love. No
Correct.
matter how many struggles I've had, love is also a struggle. Love is
Yes.
a challenge.
Oh, yes.
Love
Tell me
is
about
my
it.
love and pain are my biggest muse. I believe in it. So I write about love. I write about that love is love. Love doesn't see. We say that I want to fall in love. You can't want to
Correct.
fall in love. You will fall
Correct.
in love. Then
Yes.
you say I want to fall in love, and then you give a description of that love. Want to fall in love.
Correct.
To me,
Correct.
that is transactional. That means you have told yourself, I'm going to fall in love with the Mills and Boons way. The person has to be
Mm.
tall, dark, handsome, rich, wealthy,
Mm.
has to treat you poorly initially, then he has to come back and love you deeply.
Correct.
That's the conditioning of our. I'm changing that narrative. I'm saying
Very
love
good.
can be between a 20-year-old and 50-year-old. It can be
Correct.
between two people who just are completely different. It can be between somebody who is fully scarred from the
Mm.
outside,
Right.
but has love. So love doesn't see all that. Love is love. So though
Correct.
that's what I'm writing these days. I'm writing short stories, and I have been asked by a few OTT platforms to submit some stories.
Oh,
So
lovely.
yeah,
Lovely.
so anybody who's interested in stories, I love writing stories, and I think differently. So, but love, I only write
Yeah.
about love. I can't
Yeah.
write about anything else.
Yeah. That
And
I
love
think
has
that
changed.
That is our superpower. Yes. So I think, as I said, we all get into this little kind of reservoir of our own, which is love, which is also pain, because these become like our fuel. It's like our petrol, right? And the gallon, the tank is always full.
Love
Yeah,
it.
because I realized you can't write from a space of scarcity. You have to be able to write from a space of abundance, because then that reflects back into our own flow, because we are creating it with the creator, right? With the source, as you call it. And I think I've kind of tapped into that juice pool, as I call it, which is which is very exciting, very very sensual. Somehow it has translated into some very good story narrations about food. I was never a food journalist, correct, or a food writer, and now suddenly I'm writing about food, which I think has become so exciting for me too, to figure out where did that voice happen, where did that voice come from. And I think it's the entire journey of my own self healing that translated into a very heightened sense of emotional discovery, which was all, kind of put into some sort of a box, and the key was, was lost, was thrown somewhere, and then I had to take a hammer and bang that, crack the lock to open it, and find yourself back again, find your inner child back again. And so it is, yeah, it is food that is right now. It has become my voice of eat, pray, love, flow, as I call it, which is
Amazing.
happening. Yeah, amazing. I'm quite amazed with that voice too. And so I think that's what's happening. Yeah, that's what's happening.
It's interesting because just as you're saying, but you're talking about like food has become your muse basically at
Correct.
this point, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
to me, I think as individuals, and I don't know how many of our friends are listening, and to me, we are storytellers. Okay,
Correct.
we are
Correct.
all storytellers, and right from the moment what we are, look at you, look at me, right? It
Yeah.
tells a story. So how we present ourselves tells a story, and
Correct.
automatically our mind works. Somebody will see me with two nose pins, a flashy white frame, and this kind of a hair. They've already
Correct.
decided this is a kahani. They've written my
Yes.
story for me, and I
Correct.
write that story every day, a million times. So each one of us are storytellers. Then we get our inspiration. Let's say, so you
Correct.
are getting your inspiration from food these days. What a
Right.
fantastic inspiration to have. I mean,
Yes.
imagine the stories around food. Who
Correct.
doesn't like food? I mean, mothers, you think about your mom's recipes, you think about people who have created these beautiful things that go into your body every day. Food is
Mm-hmm.
such an inspiration. To me,
Correct.
inspiration comes from pain. And that is
Mm.
the thing that I always wonder. And I was going to ask you that question. Do you think you have to feel pain to write about pain? You have
Right.
to experience it.
Raka, you have to give me 1 minute, because
Sure,
it's sunset here and the sun is completely dipped in. I have
sure,
to put
sure.
my lights on. Give me just a minute. I'm back.
Oh, I feel that I'm in water, swimming, underwater, swimming. Nice feeling.
Yeah, because the sun kind of just set where I am, and with that I suddenly kind of realized, like, oh, it's twilight. Okay, great.
So
Yeah,
coming
so
back to my question, so do you have to feel pain? Do you have to experience pain to write about pain?
I think that was my earlier one. That was my earlier avatar, where I channel a lot of pain to kind of write about pain, correct? And I think that was my first book, which was like a complete catharsis. It was dark. It was dark, feminine. It was like the Kali and the Durga had just got out of their little closets and boxes that I had locked them up and kept. They just broke open, and they were all out there. But when I wrote the Stiletto Foodie, which is my second book, um, it came from a space of love, like deep, passionate love, And I was very surprised with the voice myself, because I was like, who is this one talking now, correct? Because here she is in all her, in all her splendor, kind of, going through these food experiences very passionately. And then I realized that it is coming from a space of love, like deep love. because I've fallen in love with myself, correct? And everything about you suddenly kind of just, is in a state of bloom. And that then has become my voice now, Raga. And it is also supporting the other sequel to Eve's Revenge called Eve's Light,
Wow.
stories
Yeah.
of passion. Yeah, and it is my own journey of finding divine love, if you know what I'm saying. Because I think there is no need of looking everything out in the external when everything is internal, is inside. So the universe is you. The universe is with inside you, right? And I think that is the source of finding God, or even being God, correct? Because you read so many scriptures and philosophies, they all come to the same thing, saying where God is within you, because you are, His example. The universe is example of creation, right? So I'm writing from that space of love now, and it's beautiful because there's so much flow into it. There's great energy there, and it's making me, it's like a celebration of our womanhood, right? When we are driven by love, correct? Because people who are in our lives also become a reflection of that, and I'm sure you agree with that, right? Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah, and people who come to our lives also reflect that, or the universe just takes them away, as I say. So you let the universe orchestrate,
Yeah.
all that it has to do, which comes to your own highest good,
Yeah, I
highest
think we
purpose.
attract. Yeah, Ethel, I think, like you said, I think we attract people or experiences that, from a place that we are at that point in life.
Yes,
If
yeah,
you're in a happy place, you'll find happy people around you. If you're in
yes,
a sad place, suddenly you're attracting people who are unhappy. If you're in a
correct,
place where you need lessons to learn, because we're always constantly learning lessons, you will find
yes,
lessons coming to you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
those choices and decisions we constantly make.
correct,
I when I'm talking to you and I'm listening to you, I'm really enjoying this. I'm loving this because I'm so pleased that you decided to do this with us. And I look at you and I think to myself, you're so much like me and like women like us who are independent, who are strong, who know what we want. We're ambitious, we're aspirational, we do
yes,
things our way.
right,
We doesn't mean that we are not don't have our challenges, that we don't have issues, but we
correct,
deal with it. So
correct.
in a world like this, do you find that people could possibly get threatened by this woman?
In my experience, and I've lived long enough on the planet to understand that, correct? Yes, I have seen that. I have seen that, and we are being very frank, because I think that's what it should be, right?
Sure.
I've seen that very strangely, though I'm not surprised actually, because I think so much of self healing needs to happen with yourself first, right? Otherwise, you reflect it all out. Has been with women themselves, correct? Because because you understand with men, men come sort of with that kind of stereotype that happens in where they're already kind of their brains already kind of tuned in to have some biases, to have prejudices, right? Because society has conditioned them. And then yet at the same time, when we talk about about women empowerment, and I've seen this through every stage of my life. So I've met some fabulous women who have been extremely supportive. My mother, to start off with, right? And then in my former life, I did not have the same support with the other woman, head of the woman, head of the family, who was a woman, correct? And then you kind of see, the duality of life, right? That there are all these things also that play out, and then finally you make the choices that that you feel where you resonate with. You either you go with that, correct, or you kind of stay in a place of your own authenticity, and you say that no matter what happens in my life and who has problems with it, correct, I am just going to continue being myself and trust in a higher power to send you the support system that you need. And trust me, Raga, and you know that too. It comes.
I
It
agree.
comes. It
So,
comes.
so do you think there is misogyny? Of course, there is misogyny, but then do you think women are misogynistic as well?
Yeah, I think we have to agree with that, because I see that. I've seen that, correct? and I've seen quite a lot of it actually in my entire media career. So strange, right? Because women, and we talk about men being competitive with us. Actually, most times, Raga, whether we like to admit it or not, it is women, correct, who are who become competitive, not in a very positive manner, right? In a very negative manner. So sometimes you feel that. Though we keep banging this boogie of men being competitive, right, and trying to kind of sabotage you, sometimes it is women themselves who are doing it to other women, correct? And then the struggle becomes an even more real, if you know what I'm saying, because you're not battling some outsider, you know you're battling people within,
Yeah.
right? And that becomes even more tough because then you say, hey, I'm looking to you for support. I'm looking at you for guidance. And because we are of the same gender, right? I have expectations, that you would lift me up as well, correct?
Yeah.
But we live and we live to tell, correct? And we live and we learn through those experiences. But that doesn't necessarily mean you become like that or become
Yeah.
like them, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think, and I say this quite a bit, and I've reflected a lot on this because, we do what we call othering. We
Mm.
say others do this. We think
Yes.
that society is somebody else. And I
Correct.
tell myself that I am that other person. I am that other. I am that
Yes.
society. And I have lived my life on social conditioning, and the biases that I've had is based on whatever my experiences have been. So
Correct.
as soon as I understood, I reached a point where I realized that some of my thinking was incorrect. I started
Mm.
unlearning them. I became
Mm. Mm.
aware. As I became aware, I started unlearning. I stopped
Correct.
telling myself to be dictated by what people said. Mangaloreans are makapao, what Marwadis are makhi juice. These things that you hear about,
Yes.
and you have this conditioning around it, stereotyping that happens quite a bit.
Correct.
So I kind of
Correct.
moved away from it, but it takes a long time. But I also
Mm.
find that because I see a lot of women in the networks that I am in, where sadly they're so conditioned to believe in the whole patriarchy, social structure that we have, that
Correct.
they themselves, I'm talking about very, very senior people, right? They
Right.
themselves would say, no, 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 let the boss talk, huh? Let him do this.
Yeah.
He's a man, he let him make the decision. Things like that we tend to say. And
Correct.
I'm not saying that there's anything wrong in listening to a man. I think it's amazing. It has to be a person,
Correct.
that we have to listen to the person. It doesn't have to be gender based. We don't
Correct.
have to bring other women down because
Correct.
we feel that, oh, log kya kahenge, what will people
Yes.
say? We
Yes.
have to learn to respect people for who they
Correct.
are,
Correct.
and support. I so agree with you. I find my best supporters are women like
Yes.
you, because we are very secure.
Yes. They're very
Support each
secure.
other. You have
Right.
to feel secure inside, and that's what I tell my friends. Feel it should come from here, whether it's in a
Yes.
relationship, whether it's
Yes.
in a friendship, whether it
Correct.
is in any kind of collaborative things that you do. Feel secure, because nobody's going to take stuff away from you.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is The universe is created in a manner that everybody has got that space. I
And
have this chair.
there's enough space. There's enough space for everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you're not sitting on top of me. We have one chair here, you've got one chair there, so we've all got space. We've got to respect that space.
Correct.
However, women who don't support each other, I'm talking about women, I'm not
Right.
talking about men, are the ones who I think inside feel incomplete. And
Correct.
so earlier when I used to think about it, I used to have opinions and judge them. Now I don't. I
Mm.
feel
Mm.
that I think they need help. And I
Mm.
say that read, listen to positive, inspirational stories. By
Correct.
helping, supporting each other, you will grow. The
Correct.
universe is going to be a better place. And we have to make this universe a better
Yes.
place, a world.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Only
Yes.
together we can do it. We can't do it individually. You
No,
can't do it.
no.
I can't do it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think the power of collaboration is even more stronger than the entire narrative of being competitive. So look at the countries run by women prime ministers, right? They've changed the
Exactly.
game. They've changed the
Exactly.
game. And
Exactly.
and you also kind of saw it during COVID as well. They were so well handled, correct? There was empathy, there was compassion, great, great. How would I call it? A very sympathetic kind of outlook towards battling with this strange virus that came out of nowhere and gripped the entire planet, so to say, right? So yes, I'm also kind of looking forward to uh, a country like India, having a woman prime minister back again at some point of time, right? All our little states within the country having all women chief ministers, because why not? I think the globe is moving, things are changing, and the narrative of women being empowerers of each other, correct? Ably supported by media, because I think that is a huge vehicle that can be very powerfully used in a very constructive, positive manner.
I look
So
forward to that
yes,
day, you
I
know,
look
to
forward to
have
that day too.
women leaders in India who actually think like women, who
Right,
behave like women, and
right,
who, when I say behave, as in they allow themselves to, we are emotional, we are sensitive, we express ourselves, and give themselves the opportunity to make the changes that they want to make as they are. And I'll tell you why I said this. I've been in advertising all my life. I was
correct.
very young, 20, and I used to work for an ad agency. And I noticed that and those days, I'm talking about old days, 30 years ago, when
Hmm.
women were very relatively new in
Right,
the workforce and advertising in particular. But I
correct.
used to see all my managers, mostly not all, some of my managers, some people that I looked up to, and I loved them. I have so much of love and respect for them. They're my biggest mentors. But I would see them dressed in a suit, smoking, drinking, like they were emulating, they were trying to. And one day I asked my manager, I said, why do you not wear a sari? Not that sari is a woman,
Yes.
is an expression of womanhood, but I said, why do you have to be this person? And she said to me, she said, in a man's world, if I don't become like one of them, this is an old boys' school. You will never even get a word in. And that kind of stayed with me. I hope
Hmm.
that 30 years since then, so 30 years from then, things have changed. And I think
Correct.
you and I are the new narrative, basically.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
have to be a man to
Right.
stand out in this world. I am
Correct.
me. I want people to be who they are, whatever it is, whatever that expression is. And
Correct.
that is changing, Ethel. That's what
Yes.
I see.
Which is
Slowly.
yeah, slowly but happening for sure. Happening for sure. Because even in Malaysia, I meet some fabulous women leaders who are here. Correct. Very feminine, very authentic in their voice, and and kind of doing whatever that they can within the power that they have. Correct. And making changes and differences in communities that they are, and it's so empowering to kind of come from outside with a different perspective and see that. So yeah, so I think. This is great, correct? I've learned so much about you, Raga.
Sorry, can
This
I
was,
interrupt? Can I interrupt?
yes,
Can I,
sure.
because you just took me back to my times. I did a bit of work in Malaysia many years ago. I'm
Okay.
talking about, gosh, 10 years ago, when I would bring
Oh,
in people like Deepak Chopra, late Dr. Stephen Covey, and people
right.
like that, Edward de Bono to Singapore, Malaysia. And
Yeah.
I remember one particular incident. I was very young then, much younger then, of course, still young. And I remember at 10 o'clock that night, my colleague came up to me and said, there is this exhibition somewhere. We
Hmm.
must go. I said, it's 10 o'clock at night. She said,
Hmm.
no, it's amazing. I think it's the last day and they're going
Okay.
to have it on only till midnight. Let's go. And
Okay.
they have night markets there, right?
Right.
And so
Yes.
we left the hotel. I don't know where we were. We left the hotel. We changed 2 trains. It took us 1.5 hours to reach there. We
Okay.
got there. We got the best food, the best massages, reflexology, everything we did. And
Right.
we got back to our hotel about 2:33 in the morning. Two
Hmm.
young women. I have never felt safer. I felt
Hmm.
so safe in that country. I
Yeah.
felt so much of love. And I
Yes.
felt that people were so interested in learning.
Yeah.
To me, that says a lot about a country.
Oh,
And I'm so
Malaysia, it's a paradise, complete paradise.
and,
Because
and then of course it is beautiful.
yeah, it's completely. So I landed here alone, correct? In a different country. I just knew just one or two people, correct? Not more than that. And then to do all that I've done in these 10 months of being here, I've met some fabulous people, across ethnicities, who are so heart and so soul, that I feel as if like I've lived here in the past, some past life of mine that brought me back home, correct? And I'm so grateful to Malaysia's love and hospitality, and finding myself back again as a woman. I mean, it's so when airports open up, you are coming here, Raga, as my
I
guest.
am. Absolutely. I would love to. I mean, I'd love to meet you and I'd love to get a big hug and give you a hug. I think missing that, isn't it? That
Yeah,
touch.
yeah, yeah, correct, correct.
And
Because
I love Malaysia. I'd love to be there any minute. 1 second and I'll be on a flight.
great. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking
Me
forward
too.
to welcome you and to welcome your friends. Correct. I'm
you.
sending a huge, big virtual hug to you till
Thank
we
you.
can meet, in properly and exchange our books with each other. I'm so happy and proud of what you do, Raga, and your entire voice, the difference that you make to your readers, to your fans, to family, to whoever that you're in touch with, in your circles, to India, because I think India has given us so much, right? So much of voice to us, right? And and it's made us, it made us who we are, professionally and personally. So thank you for making the time for today. Really, this was
Thank
beautiful. Really beautiful. It was like sitting down with you over a cup of tea, chai, masala chai. Yes, and having a conversation. Beautiful. Really
Thank
beautiful.
you, Ethel. You're amazing. Your beautiful soul just comes through on the screen as well. So maybe it's technology, I don't know.
We're
But
learning. We're all
thank you.
learning.
Lovely to talk to you. I felt like I was just sitting across the table having a chat with you. I do want to hold your hand one day and say, let's do this together. And you're a beautiful person.
Thank
And, keep shining. And lots of love to you. And thank you for, having this conversation today.
you.
Okay,
Yes, thank
much
you.
love.
Thank
Much
you.
love.
Yeah. Good night. Is it good night there or good morning?
Oh, it's good morning. It's
Good.
yeah, it's not even noon yet here.
So it's good night here. Great love from Kuala Lumpur coming straight to you.